Let me
So
know
I'm
when I
ready.
can
Yeah.
click the button because I'm ready.
Yeah. Go for it. Yep.
And yes, I'm sure. All right.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is episode 27.
27.
Really, dude? What do you are you ready now, Cyrus?
Nah, don't worry about that.
You
Let's
went
go.
stop, start, stop, start.
And I'm going
All
to
right.
because it's fucked up.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is episode 27 of the Linux Tech and Gaming Podcast, and it is Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And we have an excellent show for everybody tonight. There's GDC going on. There's Linux games just popping out of Gaben's butt left and right. I mean, everybody's butt. It's just the games are just everywhere. I love it. Um, I'm excited about the show. I don't know if you can tell. I'm a little more animated than usual because it's a great episode. We have our show notes just like exploded all over my eyeballs, and these are the most show notes I've seen on any of our shows because there's just so much to talk about. So we're going to do the best we can to squish everything in, under an hour and a half. And because we all have our own lives, we all have our own stuff going on. And I don't know if you can tell, but this Friday will make it 2 weeks that I've had a bad respiratory infection and a virus, whatever. I've been on antibiotics. I've been on steroids for the lungs and stuff to help with the wheezing, and the smoking obviously doesn't help make me get any better. So, I don't know how much talking I'll do tonight. I'm going to do the best I can, but you can obviously tell I'm already, losing the voice. And so, a few things right away. Um, if you wouldn't mind, hit that tweet or share out the stream, the podcast with your social media followers and supporters. That way, it can get aggregated out around throughout the internets. Um, Also, if you weren't aware, you can see right below each of our webcams that we do each have a player.me account. And the reason that we're utilizing that service is because it has they thought of everything. I mean, you go to player.me slash any one of us, and you're going to see our Steam, you're going to see our Twitter, you'll see our, YouTube, you'll see our, just everything is there, all collected in one location. You can get all of our social media information from one website, player.me slash whichever one of us you want to go to. And I don't know if Player Me is still in beta or alpha, but I do have invite links. So if you're interested in getting on Player Me, I can invite you, or you can just go and sign up yourself. You don't need an invite link, to the best of my knowledge. And then, you know, every time that you want to mention our show, excuse me, or hit up the Linux Tech and Gaming on Twitter. It is at Linux_tag. That's a direct way to mention the show. Or, if you're just mentioning maybe an article you wanted to share with us, or you wanted to tell your friends about us, you can do hashtag LinuxT&G. And that is in the lower right corner. That is our hashtag. So, um, and one other thing, we do have an IRC channel that we're utilizing to sort of, it's slow coming. Not a lot of people have been utilizing it, but there is the IRC channel there. If you prefer to watch the live stream in, for example, VLC or Live Streamer, and then have a chat box be your IRC client, and that IRC channel is also in the live stream, and that is pound. It's on freenode, and it's pound symbol Linux Tech and Gaming. So every week we go through one of Atomic Ass's Linux games, and out of his massive 400 or whatever,
500.
libraries, Jesus,
My
I
creosote library.
swear, I swear last week it was 400. So you bought 100 games in a week.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, so we got Atomic's Linux game pick of the week. What game do you got for us this week, Atomic?
This week I have Magicite. And this doesn't really appeal to me, but it would probably appeal to you, Ubu, because this is a survival crafting game. And, similar to the Don't Starve that you've been playing lately.
Oh, yeah.
And it's set in what I would consider to be NES level graphics.
NES level graphics, all right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can see them, sure.
Yeah. Let's see if they got a video here.
They do. I actually don't mind, when they do these retro style games or whatever you want to call it, 8-bit graphics or whatever the word is. I actually think it's kind of brings some nostalgia back to gaming. It brings up good, all the feels inside my heart because, this is what I grew up on, sort of, with Atari and NES and all that. So, these types of games do hit home with me. And it is just it's a icing on the cake that, it's an explore, craft, and survive in a multiplayer RPG platform type game with permanent death. So it's rogue, basically, roguelike.
Yes, this game is also roguelike.
So you're just sharing the video with them now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this game is difficult, like seriously difficult. I have not made it 15 minutes into a game yet. I've actually played 2 hours of this, so yeah.
Yeah, I know that. What was that? Rogue Legacy was also very difficult. It seems like a simple premise, but they definitely set the levels up to be difficult. It's not your easy not your easy game. There's a lot, and it's just left and right and jump, and you have to evade all sorts of type of stuff.
Yeah. This game also has multiplayer. It did not have multiplayer when I bought it, but it does have multiplayer now. I don't remember when they added that. Let's see. Now, the mouse cursor plays a role in this game, but you cannot see it. Like, seriously, at 1080p, because I bought this game before I had my 4K monitor. At 1080p, the mouse cursor was difficult to see because I think it's only like 5 or 6 pixels.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so it's a tiny... You can't make it bigger in the game, do you know?
There's no setting in the game for it.
Oh, huh.
So, yeah.
Do
you have to aim with it. Like, you see the characters looking left or right. Well, that's because the mouse cursor is to the left or to the right of the character. And, yeah, you can't see the cursor.
I could see that being... If it's difficult on 1080p, I can only imagine what it is on 4K. My gosh.
Yes. I mean, luckily, if I get my face right up to the monitor, I can see the pixels, so I can see the cursor, but I can see some people with worse vision. I have 150/20, by the way.
I just noticed your face hair.
Oh,
we'll have to talk about that later.
Working on a neck beard. Yeah, I figured I was learning programming, so I might as well grow the neck beard.
You got to grow the neck beard, right?
Until I get tired of it, they'll shave it off.
So smexy.
What else did I see? Oh, yes. VSync does not activate until you get into the game at least once, and then it's on permanently. So if you sit at the menu too long, it's going to warm up your GPU. So if you have trouble with your GPU overheating, you might want to keep that in mind. But once you've gone into the game once, VSync is active. You go back out to the menu, and it's still active. So that's a thing. Controller support. This game desperately needs it. But it's a Unity game, so...
I wonder if Rogue Legacy is a Unity game, because that one actually has controller support and it works when I played it.
It
Maybe I'll have to
might
look
be.
that up.
it might be.
Yeah.
But, controller support in Unity comes down to what the dev actually wants to do. If they want to take the extra time to make controllers work in the thing, they can make it work. But, yeah.
In a game like this, when it's just... do you need controller support because of, like, possibly having to jump over to the left or right and landing on, like only a one width wide block? Is that why? Or what's the whole draw when I hear people say, this is definitely a controller type game? And I remember there was one that I had purchased called You Still Won't Make It. And I had it working in 1204 with controller, and it did seem like it played better with the controller over the keyboard and mouse. And it was all because there was, a one width wide block, or one block, width that you had to land on. And it seemed like it was easier to do with the thumbsticks because obviously they're not as sensitive as a mouse would be. Is that why? Or?
In the case of this particular game, like I said, that cursor's really, really tiny.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you aiming with the right thumbstick would be a whole hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so Magicite.
But to the issue that
it does work in 4K or no?
Yeah. It doesn't seem to actually do 4K because
it upscales it maybe or something.
Yeah, I think it's upscaling it from 1080p.
Yeah,
but it does just scale. There's a thing that happens in Linux which I never experienced in Windows, where some games will just come up and they may not be at your native resolution, but they don't change your monitor's resolution, and that's what this one does. It doesn't change your monitor resolution, it just scales it to your screen. And yeah. But
all right.
I didn't address the issue that you mentioned. There are no one wide block areas. If you just do the jump right, you're gonna hit the platform you aim for, because the platforms are all, at least 10 times the width of your character.
Oh, so, okay, right.
No big deal.
Right. All right. Well, that's Magicite, and the minimum requirements that they say you're going to need is a 1.6 gigahertz. You're going to need 512 megabytes of RAM. You're going to need 450 megabytes of available hard drive space, and any sound card. Now, what they recommend is a 2.4 gigahertz. They don't even say whether P4, Celeron, or anything, probably because it's irrelevant.
Well,
then they recommend. Go ahead.
I had this running on a 2.1 gigahertz dual core Intel laptop from the Sandy Bridge era, and it just worked perfect. So
nice.
Yeah, it's not
so
graphically demanding.
Right.
Not CPU demanding.
It works. This is one of those games that, for $10, you might want to wait for it to go on sale maybe, but this is one of those games, you got a laptop that you utilize maybe when you go on business trips or whatever, and it's not quite powerful enough to play Metro Last Light and your other favorite Linux titles. Maybe you can't do you really like playing Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and 1080p, and you don't like doing it at 720p. So this might be one of those games that's a good time waster and runs on a calculator basically, or your toaster. Yeah, broadband internet connection is required for the multiplayer portion of it.
I don't know if it runs on a toaster. I don't think they've ported it to consoles.
Yeah. Nice.
He had to think about that one for a while.
Shots fired. Yeah. Well, I was reading a tweet that showed up on my screen. Something about why you're not hanging out. So I was confused, but I get the point of the tweet now. So yeah, so everybody that's not hanging out with Linux Tech and Gaming Crew tonight, get your friends in here, people. We want to share all of the knowledge with everyone about gaming. We have gaming information that we'd like to share with everybody, and it's got that Linux twist on it. It's got that Linux spin. So for the first segment, after Atomic's Linux Game of the Week, we have a somewhat of a newer segment, and we'll talk about hardware. So first up, why don't we go with topic number 3, Osiris? Go ahead and share with us what you learned. I'm guessing you learned this maybe from last night's GDC, maybe not.
No, I just showed up in PC Perspectives newsreel.
Okay.
So basically, for all the butthurt and salty 970 GTX owners, NVIDIA threw some more salt in your wounds and are releasing a GTX 960 with what I'm assuming, if they're smart, 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM on the card, which is interesting. So in case you didn't know, the 960 is MSRP'd or retail priced at $199 with the 2 gigs on it. So you could probably expect this one to be around, I don't know, what, 250-ish? But this is good for budget or mid-end to budget gamers who want to play some of the higher resolution games, like at about 14.
No, just no.
If you're smart, you don't buy this.
Yeah,
but not for that. But it's an option.
Yeah, this I believe is the card that did you choose this one for Savaged, his build that I just put together, or was that a 2 gigabit card?
It's a 2 gigabit.
Okay, gigabyte, whatever. I always say gigabit, and before everybody jumps on me and says, "Oh, Ubu says gigabit and it's actually gigabyte," I don't care. Okay, people.
He's just dyslexic.
I know the difference between gigabyte and gigabit. Gigabit is the unit of measure for transferring over network. Gigabyte is the unit of measure for storage. I'm well aware what the differences are. For some reason, my brain says gigabit all the time.
Yes, he's dyslexic.
So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up.
Okay, so this is not going to be... Just don't even buy this card because it doesn't make any sense. The 960,
it doesn't make any sense.
The 960 has the same 128-bit memory bus as the 750 Ti, and I can tell you from personal experience, the 750 Ti maxes out at 1440p, and even then you're going to get some stuttering in games like TF2. This particular one I'm holding in my hand has enough raw horsepower to drive TF2 at 4K. And it has the VRAM to do it if you turn off anti-aliasing.
What are you holding?
The 750 Ti.
Okay. With a dual fan on it. Nice.
Yes. And like I say, this one's even a poor performer. It doesn't overclock as much as some people on the internet say that they've gotten their 750 Tis too.
It only goes the lottery with that one.
Yeah, it only goes to 1320 megahertz. Only 1320. Okay. Yeah.
Only. Yeah.
But
that is just amazing. I mean, have you done any videos for your YouTube channel, basically touting the 750 Ti? I mean, I know you've done videos utilizing the 750 Ti for your YouTube channel.
But this thing will do 60 FPS most of the time. You get some frame dips at 4K, but it stutters so bad that it's unplayable. But the frame counter's still saying 60 FPS. And
well, that's kind of weird.
I think it's up against the memory bandwidth limit. So
yeah, if it's only 128-bit.
Yeah. And the 960 is also 128-bit. So
I really don't understand why NVIDIA did that.
Use this for. There is one thing you can use this for. The memory bandwidth would still be a problem though, and that is video editing. Now, I will say that I think that the mid-range GTX cards are well suited for if you use Premiere or Vegas or whatever.
Even if you're a Windows person and you want to use Shadowplay or what's that called, Game Stream. They're both NVIDIA products.
Well, I don't really think that the extra memory helps on that regard. But what I'm saying is, video editing, that extra memory is definitely a help.
Okay. I see
And
what you're pointing out. Yeah.
and at that price point, I don't really recommend you getting like a 980 if you're doing like prosumer work. This is good enough.
Okay, gotcha.
I've seen the benchmarks for Premiere. I've seen the benchmarks for Vegas. The extra money for the 980 just isn't worth it if you're just doing prosumer type of work, and you're not getting paid a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, somebody that's, getting paid for their work, you can justify that cost on the 980 because you're getting return on your investment pretty quickly. You're getting the money back to pay for it. So
Right.
according to, I'm looking on Newegg. I should have just went to PC Part Picker because they have all the different vendors on there. But the 4 gig model from Asus is 340. The 4 gig model.
What?
Oh no, I'm sorry. That's 256 bit of GDDR5, not 128.
What?
Oh, I'm looking at the. Sorry, I'm looking at the 970. My bad.
I was gonna say that's 970 prices.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't think these are out yet.
Okay, gotcha. As usual, don't even listen to Ubu.
Yeah, don't listen to him.
Yeah, don't listen to me. All right. So was that pretty much all you wanted to cover with that?
Yeah, I think Nvidia's trolling people. This is just to make the 970 people salty.
Right.
Well, I think that's EVGA, not NVIDIA.
Okay, EVGA. Yeah, he's right. So this is being released by EVGA and another company called Eno 3D. Not Nvidia officially. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, and it didn't take long for the chat to mention Titan X. Oh my gosh. But
my next
all
video
right,
card.
Yeah.
Yes.
You and your graphics cards.
Yes.
All right, so we have an update to share with everybody about the Librem laptop. And for those of you that aren't aware of this, there is a laptop that they came up with on Crowd Supply that is completely open source. And I'm talking all the way down to the BIOS or firmware for when you first boot up the computer. It originally didn't have an open source BIOS, but they worked some magic with either Linus Torvalds or the other guy, Stallman, is it? No, who's the other Linux guy? GNU Linux guy? Richard Stallman? Yeah.
The neckbeards?
Yeah. Richard, I thought it was Stallman. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
That's all right.
Okay. Yeah. So they actually got this laptop, so that it's completely open source. Now, for those of you, some of you that, that doesn't matter. You don't really care that the firmware or the BIOS or, the UEFI is open source. You just want hardware that does what you want it to do, whether it be gaming or a mobile workstation for editing or whatever. But these laptops here, the Librem 15 Rev 1 and Librem 15 Rev 2, they're 15-inch laptops, and they do have some impressive specifications. i7s in both of them. One of them is a 5500U, the other one's a 4770HQ. They have different number of threads, core. So one's a dual core. The original Rev 1 is a dual core only, but they listened to the audience. They listened to their consumers that were going to be buying these and backing the project. They made it's got a 4-core, 8 threads. CPU max frequency is 3.4 gigahertz. It's got, one of them has the Intel HD Graphics 5500. The other one has the Intel Iris Pro Graphics 5200. Another big thing that they listened to from the consumers was that they wanted more physical memory, or at least the upgrade path to do more memory. So you can see that the Librem 15 Rev 2, you can put 32 gig of RAM in that laptop. I mean, that's impressive in my opinion.
On that point, if they had 2 physical memory slots in the Rev 1, then it would probably be possible to put 16 gigs in there, even if it says 8 gig max. The laptop that I mentioned in the Magicite article, it was a Lenovo. It said max 8 gigs of RAM, but the Intel said it supported, the CPU said it supported 16 gigs, and it had 2 DIMM slots, so I put 16 in there, and I ran that for a long time. About 2 years, actually.
Huh. Well, I thought I would just, since we did cover this months back, about the Librem 15 project, they're calling it purism. It looks like, purism being pure. It's pure open source. It looks like their goal was only $250,000, and
Yeah.
at first,
Yeah, they blew past it.
it wasn't looking good at all. But some big podcasts talked about it, us being one of them, and obviously our gigantic support base just exploded with supporting this crowd supply project, and they blew by it by almost doubling it. So they raised almost $500,000. I mean, that's just rounding, but I actually supported the project with just the $5, here you go, because I supported it. I would love to be able to buy a laptop like this. I mean, granted, it is definitely a little expensive. They say that if you want the early bird edition, it ships in April of this year, and it's $1,900. It's a little expensive. So I'm not really, with all of the hardware specs in this thing. I don't really know why it's that much, but I mean, look at what the panel does. It's a 15-inch panel, and it does 3840 by 2160.
Yes.
It's an IPS panel.
Yes.
At 60 hertz.
Yes.
So I mean,
I don't need one, but I really want one now.
Right?
And
this hardware is like just, this is what you see in desktops, people.
Yeah, so I'm kind of impressed.
Besides the processor.
I'm kind of impressed with this because I did not know that there was a quad-core i7 that had Intel Iris. And then you can stick 32 gigs in it. Oh, it's
what they use on the Macs?
Probably.
They might.
I don't know for sure, but they might, yeah.
What I had traditionally seen was that they were sticking the Iris in the very low power stuff, even though it was the best Intel graphics you could get. And then it's like, comparing with the 750 Ti that I just held up in terms of performance.
Yeah.
But let's see, the thing's got 2 mini display ports. Yes. 2 4K monitors off of a laptop.
Yeah.
And then you have a 4K monitor on the laptop, so you have 3 times 4K.
3 4K displays. all being powered by an Intel Iris Pro? Really?
Well, I don't think
that would be kind of crazy. I don't know if it could push all of those at 4K. It couldn't.
Well, for the desktop, it definitely could. Because 4K desktop is
right, yeah, that's just the desktop. You're right.
You're not even stressing a 750 Ti at that point. But I don't think you're going to be playing Battlefield 4 triple monitored. No.
Yeah. So if you're interested in this laptop for whatever reason, here is the crowd supply link. It's in the chat now on Hitbox. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, I'll try to make my way over there and provide the link to you guys. But I just thought I would fill everybody in on that, project on crowd supply because we did cover it in the past. So there's the update. Some people will be getting the Rev 1 and some people will be getting the Rev 2. I don't know really exactly how they're determining that, but that is something that I wanted to just update everybody on.
And that is moving along. That is a matte IPS, which is, I like that.
Yeah. Moving along, we got, was this you? Yeah, it looks like it's you, Osiris. You want to share number 4 with everybody?
All right, so let me get rid of all the ads. So this year at GDC, Steam or Valve has announced a new piece of hardware product. Basically, they're calling it a Steam Link. Wait, is that what it's called? Steam Link? Yes, Steam Link.
Yes.
And it's going to be $49.99. And what it basically is a dumb client. So you're going to hook it up to something like your TV in your front room. You have a nice gaming PC, which is Linux, of course, in your other room, and you stream to this thin client, so to say, and play your games over on your TV for $49.99 with a controller. Which, I mean,
Wow.
I'm assuming that the controller alone is probably $49.99.
Right? How did they do that?
It's
I
gonna
mean,
support
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
1080p at 60 hertz. I don't. We had this conversation yesterday with a friend of the show, and I don't know what 60 hertz means. I don't know if it's marketing speak. I'm gonna go ahead and assume they mean 60 frames per second, but I don't trust these companies in their backward speak. It says low latency, but obviously that depends on your network situation in your house. I mean, if you have a one megabit connection for some reason because you haven't upgraded in 10 years, then it won't work.
Yeah.
But this is an amazing product that Valve has announced. It's basically something to get you gaming almost anywhere in the house that you have a TV for $49.99 with a controller. Winning.
Yeah, I mean, that is absurd. I mean, someone like me who deals with a lot of different clients and customers that give me old hardware, I've been meaning to put together a cheap little streaming box just like this Steam Link piece of hardware. And I don't even think I could do it for $50. I mean, I would have to buy the thermal paste, so that's going to be 15-20 bucks. I'm going to have to buy a controller, which is, the 360 ones. You can go to any used, like a GameSpot stop or any used pawn shop that has the old 360s controllers. It's going to be another 20 bucks, and then and then all the other hardware that I slapped together, which was free. So that's amazing to me that they're selling it for $50, and it's basically a Steam, in-home streaming box. That's all its purpose does, and what it does is it just simply decodes the stream from your main gaming rig, like Osiris pointed out. And Osiris, you did a bunch of initial testing on in-home streaming back in the day, didn't you, when they first announced it?
Yeah, the day they announced it, I used my gaming computer hooked up to a AMD single core. I don't. What was it? A Phenom or something old, super old, something that you shouldn't even turn on anymore. And
Something you shouldn't turn on. Yeah.
it did stream at 720. Well, no, it was 1080p at like 30 frames per second. Now there was some stutter, but that was probably due to the CPU being pretty weak and having to decode it, and it's just slow. So,
Yep.
I can see how they could get this in hardware wise, except for the controller. The controller, like if it's the Steam controller, like the official one, that's pretty amazing at that price.
Yeah. I mean, just to clarify for everybody, all that, when I said that all this little client has to do is decode, it has to decode an H.264 stream, and it either will do it with an Intel, GPU that's built into the CPU, or it'll do it with an NVIDIA card. And theoretically, it's supposed to be able to do it with an AMD card. But we don't want to touch too much on the whole AMD Linux driver thing. Although from what I've heard from various members of the community, is that the Omega driver did improve some stuff. So that's probably a whole show in its own, talking about AMD's Linux support with their proprietary driver.
I don't think the graphics card comes into play on this thing, in this situation here. I think it's just sending a signal, and well, I don't. Yeah, it's just sending the signal, and the client will be then decoding that signal. I don't think it's using the graphics to encode it. So if you can get the
Wait,
game
the
to
Steam
play,
Link is just the client, the dumb client you said.
yeah,
That's so that's decoding
the video
what your
stream.
gaming rig, right? What your gaming rig encodes.
Yeah, so if you can get the game to run on AMD, uh, if if you don't have a problem with AMD, I should say, then you won't have a problem with this either. If you already have previous problems, obviously this is not going to help you at all. You
Yeah.
you have other issues.
All right. Well, that pretty much covers our hardware information and news. We have so much stuff to talk about that we're gonna not talk about the little Linux powered waterproof cube that was mentioned to us by 2Coop4. He's a great supporter of the show and is always active in the Mumble server and always learning new things about Linux. And he shared this with me. It's a little waterproof cube that's runs Linux and stuff. But we just got a bunch of other topics to cover, so maybe next week we'll talk about that one. So getting into the meat of the show, we have XFCE 4.12 finally gets released after almost a 3-year stalemate.
What?
Yeah.
I was still using XFCE when they last updated. Wow.
I guess they were on 4.10 for the longest time. And they finally just released it on February 28th. So that was, just last week. I don't know if that was Wednesday or it doesn't matter. It was in late March, February, and 4.12 is it's a great refresh of an excellent desktop environment. So those of you that are kind of newer to Linux and are here watching the show and maybe don't run Linux yet, at the core of the GNU Linux system is the Linux kernel. But then on top of it, you have what are called, window managers. You have desktop environments. You have graphical user interfaces that give you all of the ability to click on stuff for people that enjoy a graphical user interface. So, Linux isn't just all terminal and command line and having to remember the commands like DOS. Get that out of your head, scrub that out, because that's the old days.
What?
Linux desktop has come a long way. Linux desktop has come a long way, and this is one of the premier lighter weight desktops, in my opinion. XFCE is right up there. And if we take a look at the changelog quickly, just to point out some of the better changes, there's a lot that they changed from 4.10. They I don't know, did you bring it up or no?
Yeah, I got it up on
It
screen.
looks like they've made a bunch of stuff so that it compiles and you can utilize GTK plus 3, which is it's a language framework. GTK is, looks like they did some updates to the Power Manager. They added all of the goodies in by default now. Goodies are like little applets and panels and just like the little extra added bonus type things that make your computing experience easier. So you can see how extensive the changelog is. They did a lot of work. Looks like they did a lot of work to the file manager. Oh my gosh, there's a holy shoot.
They basically threw it out and rebuilt it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I didn't even get to the end yet. So the whole file manager called Thuner, it is basically the equivalent to Windows Explorer for those of you that are in Windows. And, allows you to drag and drop and click and see your computer at a glance and whatnot through a graphical user interface. And then they've got other things that they've refreshed with 4.12. So I actually did upgrade the other day, and I am running XFCE 4.12, and I don't have any complaints. I don't have any issues with it. Osiris, I saw recently that you were going to give Xubuntu a try, which Xubuntu does utilize the XFCE desktop environment. Do you know
Yeah,
if you're running 4.12?
I doubt it. But I can look. What's the stupid command for it?
Well, if you right click on your desktop and go to About XFCE, that might tell you, but it might not because mine says that I'm still running 4.10, even though I know I'm running 4.12.
Conspiracy. Yeah, mine says
Yep.
4.10 also.
Yes.
So I don't know.
So did you download the 4 point, I'm sorry, did you download Ubuntu 1404 or 1410?
1404 for the OBS thing, but as a side note, it seems like OBS works in 1410.
It does now. Yep.
All right,
So
cool.
that was something that I was going to maybe bring up during one of these shows because that's pretty big news. You know, there was quite a bit of period of time where the build server was down for OBS, so it didn't even work on 1404. If you were using the PPA, you had to pull down the code yourself using Git and compile it yourself. And quite frankly, you had to do quite a bit of stuff that a normal user doesn't, or I mean, a newer user isn't going to be experienced enough to do. Now, they had some pretty detailed instructions in the README file, which most Linux packages do. If you're ever unsure on how to install a package in Linux, if it's not just, for example, in Ubuntu, if it's not sudo apt-get install foo, then usually you can download the source code, and in there is a file called readme or a file called install, and you just read that file, and it usually tells you exactly how to install it. It's usually not hard at all. So you don't have to be afraid of compiling packages. You don't have to be afraid of installing from source code if there's not, if it's not in the normal repositories, if it's not in a PPA. So again, I guess for those of you that are new, repositories think of them as like the Google Play Store, or think of them as the Apple Store, the iDevice Apple Store. They're servers that contain packages that you can install from those servers onto your local computer, and that's probably a weird thing to hear if you're a Windows person, because if you're on Windows, usually you do a Google search and you try to find the one that's got the least amount of malware and spyware in it. You either get it from CNET or Major Geek, or you get it from somewhere. If you're looking for open source free utilities for your computer, and that's how it is in Windows. But in Linux, there's approved locations for these packages that people have built and uploaded there. So when you want to install something, it's simply a search and an install, and you're done. You're off and you're flying. So the my voice is definitely getting wrecked here, and I don't know how much more I'm going to be able to talk. So the next topic that we have, Osiris is going to go over.
Number 2.
Sure.
All right.
No, we don't even need to cover that one.
Yeah,
I would say.
So.
Yeah, skip that. Maybe just go at 3 and then whichever ones you want from there. Yeah. I'll just contribute when I can. Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm just gonna roll this topic up with number 11 because it just got too real on SteamOS/Linux. I checked on Steam. I logged into Steam and I was like, what's going on? Pop up. And then it just said SteamOS sales. And I was like, interesting. Might just be another sale I have to ignore because I can't buy every game. Until I saw the amount of games and the titles of games that are now available for SteamOS or Linux. Let me just run you guys through a couple of the notable ones. Shadow of Mordor, Batman Arkham Knight, Hotline Miami 2, Payday 2, Saints Row 4, Company of Heroes 2, This War of Mine, Witcher 3, and then you have the usual suspects like Borderlands, Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, Civilization 5 and Civilization Beyond Earth. These are all insanely incredible titles that are either available or are going to be available. Now, usually I would say don't even like give it the time of day or any thoughts if somebody says that it's going to be available on Linux or SteamOS. But this is Valve seemingly officially saying, look, these games like Payday 2 and Shadow of Mordor, which don't have yet Linux ports, are going to be on SteamOS. End of story. That's what it looks like to me. I mean,
that's awesome.
The asterisk being that some of those in the list don't have the icon yet. So maybe they're in beta. Maybe you're going to be waiting for a little while. Not sure. Because I don't personally own any of the games that don't have the icon yet, so I can't tell you. But, yeah.
Well, you know the one game that Don't Starve Together, that didn't have the little penguin icon for a while. And I actually, created a whole article on our on Linux Tech and Gaming's website, and I was tweeting at Valve or the developer of Don't Starve Together, and I was just like, this is confusing to Linux users because it looks like it's only available for Windows, yet you tell us it's available for Linux, and so the whole, not having the penguin logo on Steam doesn't necessarily mean it's not available for Linux. Like, there's so much happening right now, and new things are coming out that, I don't know if that whole logo thing is a good indicator of whether or not the game is available for Linux. I would say usually the Steam community forums or the discussion area is where you'd want to look and see if there's any talk of Linux for a particular game.
I did do the research because some of these games, like Saints Row 4, I loved Saints Row 3. So Saints Row 4 is a no-brainer for me if it's on Linux. So I had to go look, and I checked the Steam DB. And the games that do not have the SteamOS logo, that's also confusing to add to what you were saying. So on this page, there's a SteamOS logo. But if you click any of the games with the SteamOS logo, there's a penguin logo. They need to get that together.
Yeah.
That's kind of confusing to me, or to people who might not even use Linux or know what SteamOS is.
Right.
Yeah, but SteamDB says that these games without the SteamOS or the penguin logos don't have executables some of the times, or they don't even have Linux files yet on SteamDB. So I doubt that any of these work. So the icons are they're correct from what we're seeing so far on this page.
Just to address something in the Hitbox chat, Lego BioShock Infinite showed up in my Linux library as downloadable a little while ago. It did not have an executable.
Again?
Yeah. No, this was the first time it happened.
Oh, okay.
This was
okay.
a month or 2 months ago. It was, you could download it, but there was no executable, and it has since disappeared from the Linux client. But they did make an official announcement that it is coming to Linux. So it's coming eventually.
So they did? Okay. Bam, that's awesome.
Let's hope that they get the BioShock 1 and 2 on there too.
Boom. Tough acting to acting, people. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So the topic that I think he kind of glazed over was that Chivalry. Yes, Chivalry is now available on Linux. So you can cut your friend's heads off now and limbs in Linux. I actually bought the game.
Chivalry is like Counter-Strike, but medieval times.
But with sword, right? Yeah, medieval times. Good point. Yep.
But which one you got? Do you own it, Atomic?
I
but I might.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you too.
I might.
Yep, it's on sale too. It's only $9 right now. Let's get it and start cutting people's heads off.
Okay. Good deal. There you go.
Let's friggin' do it. Yeah, let's do it.
So you guys go check out the SteamOS sale, and don't give me any reasons why you can't play on Linux anymore.
Right.
You guys know who I'm talking about. Anyways,
Yeah, so the next thing, oh yeah, and then I guess since we're talking game releases, let's just quickly talk about or mention the other ones all while we're talking about this. So we have Outland, which is if you would, Atomic, if you could go to the Outland Steam page and maybe just play that video. A viewer actually gave it to me, and I did play it the other day. Awesome, awesome platformer in my opinion. Right? That's a platformer, Osiris, where you scroll left and right. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got this big ass sword. The graphics were just phenomenal in my opinion. You know, and great frame rate. You know, GTX 760, maxed out settings. Excellent, excellent game. So hopefully Atomic Scott is showing you guys a little bit of about the game. All right, Outland. I definitely highly recommend it. It just recently, well, it says it was released on September of 2014, but I think it just came to Linux very recently because my friend who gave it to me, you know, said that he felt it was the best Linux release of the week. And that's the same week that Oddworld, Abe's Adventure, you know, Abe's Odyssey was also released. So I wrote up an article on Linux Tech and Gaming about Oddworld and the whole rewrite that they did to it for, you know, and it's for Linux. So, and the other one that we have, so all those games are just available, boom, in your face, ready to download and play right now. You know, like I said, Chivalry, Outland, Oddworld, just some great titles there. And then the other one that's coming is Trine 3, The Artifacts of Power. So it's currently only lists that it's going to be for Windows, but Trine 1 and Trine 2 is available for Linux. It's by Frozen Byte. Frozen Byte is a proponent of Linux, I would say. So if I were a betting man, I would bet that Trine 3 is coming to Linux.
Oh, I'm certain it will.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna have to slow down. Still haven't beaten Trine 1 and Trine 2. Come on, people.
Wait, yeah. Oh, you must not have been with me then, because we beat Trine 2 during a live stream.
Yeah,
he didn't play Trine 2 with us.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, I did. That's when I met you. Like you guys were midway through Trine 2. I kind of jumped in and didn't really play, not much.
Yeah.
Okay. So because I didn't even know how to play it. Then we tried Trine 1 and we never really got through that yet either.
Nope. Yeah, that's the Enchanted Edition, right? That's okay, yeah. So those are all games that are boom in your face, you know. So I hope to God anybody in the chat, any of the chats, YouTube, Twitch, and Hitbox, have never uttered the words, "There's no games for Linux." Okay, people, that was 10 years ago. There was, there was games back then too. So if you see a troll on YouTube or in a comment or in a stream and you hear them say there's no games for Linux, just utter the words, "You're right, there's only 3,000." Because that's how many games there are.
Only 3,000.
Approximately 3,000. I did the research months ago, back in November, December of last year, and put an article up on Linux Tech and Gaming that just said, give me all the games. And I listed all of the major sites that you can get games from: Steam, Tessura, GOG, Game Agent, and there's many more that I'm not listing right now. So there's games for Linux, people, and they're ready to be played, and they're working great. And like Atomic said, he's got 500 games in his library. I have 82.
I need to play them.
And yeah, you're right. There's just not time to play all the games. So
I'm at 144.
Damn. Those are Linux or all?
Let me double check that. Those are all. So I got 67 library. Steam OS.
Okay.
Games.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
Zeto is asking about the mics that we use. I have the Sennheiser E835. That's what you're seeing right here. And Osiris, why don't you talk about your mic while I show what an XLR plug looks like?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I have an 80, and I don't even know which 80 because it's old, and I don't plan on replacing it because a good condenser, microphone does not need replacing. Uh, just get you the I told them get the Audio Technica 2020 or 2025, depending on if you want USB. A time I show you what XLR is. XLR is better, but XLR also will require a lot more equipment. So if you're just starting out, get the USB.
Yes. XLR has...
And to clarify, it's the 2500
Oh,
USB. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I have. So if you want to see it, let me just pull the stand up a little bit. Yes. There, it should be on stream now.
The advantage to USB is all you need is the mic. That cable plugs directly into your computer. The advantage now, some of the mics will have a gain control on it, so you can turn that down. But the advantage with XLR is it requires an input, and almost invariably that input is going to have a control that you can turn down. See, if you ever need to silence yourself, you can just go right there, rip the control down. That's the main advantage.
Yeah, that's definitely an advantage right there. And my mic is the Audio Technica ATR 2500-USB, and it does have a feedback port on it. So if I wanted to plug a headphones directly into a headphone jack on the mic, it's near instant feedback, and it also has volume controls right on it for that feedback. And believe it or not, it shows up as a speaker for whatever reason. So it's a microphone and a speaker. I don't really understand what that's all about. But
you can basically plug your headphones in there and run your audio out to that.
Oh, yeah, duh. Because it's got the feedback. Right. Yeah. Okay, sure. So this mic that I have, I got it at a pawn shop for $50. So that's a steal. Normally, they were selling for $100, but since the newer models have come out, it's dropped down to around $70 on Amazon and your normal sites. This is a great, Osiris has stated this before. If you're looking for a decent mic, there's going to be just a bunch of them that are all pretty darn equivalent. Slight number differences between them, like the range range of what's it called, dynamic range and stuff like that. But when you're spending $100, all of the mics are pretty much going to be equivalent.
I think the biggest difference is going to be in tonality, like the tone and the color that the mic has. And that's why the Audio Technica is a great mic, because it has a very natural, warm tone to it, which is good for voiceovers or commentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, in that field, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're using dynamic mics? Or is it condensers?
No, these are condensers. I have a condenser. Yep.
Okay, so the mics that Osiris and Ubu are using, those are condensers, and they require a pop filter. You can see it in front of Osiris.
Yeah, I don't have one yet.
Yeah. Pop! Well, you don't speak directly into the mic, so it's not as big of an issue for you.
Right. It's a little bit low. It's about 3 inches below my mouth and about 3 inches in front of my mouth. That's what I was told to do. Yeah.
Now,
the thing to point out about microphones is that you can watch all the videos you want. You can listen to every person tell you that you should get this mic and that mic. But you know what? Like Osiris pointed out to me, that's their situation and their environment. You need to actually get the mic, set it up in your environment, and actually do some recording and listen back to it. That's the only way you're going to be satisfied with your mic purchase. You need to do it and use it yourself, and you need to properly set it up to your environment. One common thing that you'll see amongst all three of our microphones, you can't really see it on Atomics, but they're all on a shock mount or they're up in the air.
Well, mine isn't on a shock mount. It's on it's on a mount, but there's no shock there.
Okay.
Condenser microphones need a shock mount. this dynamic mic can do without a shock mount. I don't know if this is getting through.
What'd you do?
No, I don't
didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're tapping on the table or
Yeah.
something? You're tapping on the table that it's sitting on?
Yeah.
Interesting. So maybe dynamic doesn't pick it up as much as like a condenser does.
I don't think it does. I mean,
Yeah, we're getting way off topic too,
Yeah.
by the way. But
Yeah, that's really-
we wanted to, we need to reel it back in and get back on topic just because we do have a lot of other stuff to talk about. But maybe we can dedicate one of our shows to mic talk. Maybe, but I know other YouTubers and other podcasts have probably, beat that horse to death.
I got an idea though. We need to make a note of this. We can do a show or do a segment where we talk about the equipment that we use or that we know that is compatible for Linux gaming.
That would be a
Cams,
great-
mics, keyboards, mice, that sort of thing.
Sure,
I think that would be
a great segment, or a great show for sure. And we could do, it'd be an AMA sort of, an Ask Me Anything, basically, or Ask the Show Anything. And we'll first touch on all of our hardware and everything, and then if there's questions, we'll obviously answer them. And Cyrus and I and Tomic have all said this in the past. If you have a question about something in Linux, generally we'll try to answer it if you mention us on Twitter. If we're free and we have the moment and we know the answer, we'll usually reply right away. If we don't know the answer or we're busy and we don't reply to you, it's not because we're ignoring you. It's because we either don't know the answer or we don't have the time to answer it, or whatever the case may be. So just keep that in mind. If you do tweet at us and you don't get a reply, it's not intentional, and it's not we've said it many a times that we're more than happy to assist people with their experience into Linux gaming or into Linux, and we want to make it enjoyable for you because we all enjoy it and we want others to enjoy it as well. Stop paying the man his $100 for your operating system. Or if you're an Apple person, you usually just have a small fee to upgrade your OS each year or whatever. But anyway, so wrangling back on topic here, something that's really exciting, the brand new OpenGL. Wait, what? Vulkan is apparently not OpenGL? Well, go ahead, Osiris. It sounds like you know more about this than I do.
I'm not even going to claim to understand graphics APIs. I'm just going to tell you what they said on a Nantech, and I guess which is from GDC 2015. Okay. So, put in this perspective, OpenGL is the equivalent, so to say, of DirectX, and Vulkan is the equivalent of DirectX 12 and Mantle. Meaning that they're low-level bare metal APIs. It means you can program directly towards the hardware if you choose to do so.
Okay. All right.
And a quick little history. I from what I read, developers don't like OpenGL because it is an old language that has features stacked on top of it.
Like Xorg.
Which made it convoluted and hard to program for.
Band-aided over the years, and
so that gave it a kind of a sketchy reputation. And it looks like the people who make OpenGL and OpenCL, which is I had the name in my head, why can't I think of them?
Kronos
there
group.
You go. Thank you. Kronos, they decided that they were going to abandon the name OpenGL because of the bad
negative
history.
Connotation,
yes,
or whatever you want to call it, right? Okay.
But Vulkan is a direct competitor to DirectX 12. Vulkan and DirectX 12 have effectively killed Mantle.
Really?
Mantle is AMD has abandoned Mantle for the most part. There will be no public APIs of Mantle.
What?
Yes.
This is an official thing.
Yes.
They're doing?
Yeah, it was pretty much said at GDC.
Yes. Wow.
And
GDC is going on right now. For those of you that don't know, GDC is this whole week. Right?
Right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
but as far as Mantle goes, okay, so they abandoned it for public usage. They are keeping it, I guess, in house for testing purposes. What I guess what they mean is they're going to use it as a test bed. So basically, Mantle is the reason why there is DirectX 12 and Vulkan and a low level API for graphics. So they're going to continue to try to push the graphical boundaries forward using Mantle, but they'll never allow Mantle to be put out into the public and be used for game development. This was what AMD is saying. But anyways, back to Vulkan because that's what's important. So it is the successor to OpenGL, and obviously meaning that would mean that it's cross-platform compatible, and it also scales down to mobile platforms.
Boom.
There you go.
Yeah, if Atomic scroll down a little bit, you can see, the need for Vulkan. It's ground-up design of a modern open standard API for driving high-efficiency graphics and compute on GPUs used across diverse devices. So you can see actually like an Alienware type Steam machine over there on the right. You can see a freaking rotocopter or a quadcopter. You can see a MakerBot or a 3D printer. You can see a car. You see like is that a DSLR camera or some type of video camera there, it looks like. You can see on the left, you see...
The one immediately below the Steam box?
Yeah.
That's an Oculus Rift.
Oh, okay, sorry. I couldn't quite see. Okay. And then on the left, you see, they got a mobile device. They got a desktop, and maybe some type of server. I'm not sure. But it says
3D printer, it looks like.
Is it?
It looks like
the 3D printer's on the right. Yeah, it's tough to tell. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So, in the 22 years that OpenGL, was invented, the architecture of GPUs and platforms has changed, obviously, radically. So if Atomic scrolls down a little more, you can see the Vulkan explicit GPU control and how Vulkan differentiates or is different than OpenGL ES and OpenGL, so that's a good visualization, I guess, to see the differences between OpenGL, which is on the left, and then a Vulkan, which is on the right. So I'm excited. I mean, I think us as gamers, personally, or at least speaking for myself, I don't really care if it's DirectX, if it's OpenGL, if it's GL Next, if it's Vulkan. All I care about is, does it run on my GTX 760 in my Linux distribution? That's all I care about.
Of course you care if it's DirectX, because if it's DirectX, no it ain't. Not without wine.
Right. Well,
but my point was, though, is that DirectX, I was trying to speak in terms of saying that maybe that we don't have a definition or what DirectX is, but obviously we do. We know that it's a proprietary graphics API for Microsoft, isn't it?
It's a proprietary API. Direct3D is the equivalent of OpenGL.
Okay. All right.
So, as a note, it looks like Microsoft is opening up DirectX to... I'm trying to get the information right now. But it looks like I don't think they're open sourcing it, but they're opening it up, and I think it's going to be cross-platform or multi-platform compatible. I'm trying to find that information right now for you guys, though.
All right. Well, we can move on to the next topic while you're checking that out. And it's a big one. It's a doozy for us Linuxers. Linux 4.0 kernel. So for those of you that are, kind of newer to the Linux scene, at the base of a system, the Linux kernel, has this whole big, weird, long name, and it's usually, like, for example, my kernel right now is 3.13.0-46- Now, what does that really mean to me? It means nothing. But if I wanted to learn about what that kernel's capabilities are or what it added since the dash 45 version, I can go and view the changelog and all that. So Linus Torvalds, who's the author of the kernel, basically submitted or created a poll and asked everyone and said, do you guys want it to go to 3.14, or I'm sorry, or 3 dot whatever the next number is, or should we just cut it and go to 4.0? So apparently the decision has been made. Linux kernel 4.0 RC1, which is release candidate 1, is being released.
Okay,
so there is
so
the major changes with this new kernel
there are none.
is live kernel patching. Wrong. There's live kernel patching, and there is better page memory management. Otherwise, yes, you're right. It's not a huge, improvement or release kernel like most kernel updates are.
Yeah.
So this is kind of unique.
Usually when you go from a major version number,
right,
there should be like major changes.
Right. I agree. But that's why this is kind of a special case. Is Torvalds asked everyone, since there's not much changing with this kernel from blah to 4, or to whatever the other number would have been, should we do this and should we just go to 4? Because he doesn't like long and ambiguous numbers, basically, is what he said.
Okay, I'm going to read a part of this article. He says he wants to avoid big version numbers that you can't distinguish, but,
right.
Quote, I'm once more close to running out of fingers and toes, unquote.
Right, I did see that.
Really?
That was funny.
Really, Linus?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Get some nuclear waste and grow a few more toes.
All right. Well, that's Linux 4.0, people. It's exciting. Yeah, everybody's yawning. So we have somebody that's keeping up to date or trying to with all the GDC information, and that would be Osiris. Right, Osiris? What do you got? Is there anything big or there's a lot of news at GDC.
There's a lot
like
of VR headsets.
Liquid VR, yep.
Liquid VR. There's Titan X. What else was there?
Vulkan, obviously.
Oh, NVIDIA released another Shield device, which is going to be a living room device this time instead of a tablet or I don't know what the hell the first thing was, a controller / thing. But that's kind of cool. I'm still kind of bummed that they chose Android, but whatever. That's better than the alternatives. What else was at GDC? Trying to remember off the top of my head. That's probably a bad idea.
Well, you said that the blog, or you made a note in the show notes that the blog is constantly being updated.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I didn't click on the GD. So it's
there it is.
Wait, this is steamdb.info blog. So this looks like it's a Valve specific GDC blog.
Right, because that's what's most important.
Right, Valve and gaming and everything. And so it looks like this is kept up to date with what's going on at GDC.
Yeah.
On this link here, I will put it in the chats, the various locations. I don't have the YouTube one open, so I can't do that, but I'll put it in Mumble so one of you can put it on YouTube.
It's not on this page, but there is an official 3D render of the Steam controller, the finalized version, I assume. That was tweeted out. Yeah, it was shown and tweeted out because I don't think there's no live coverage. According to this blog, there's no live coverage of Valve's announcements, and I don't even know if there's possible for it to be because I think they're closing it off. But so things are leaking out here and there from Valve, from people who are there. So this is a good way to keep up to date on that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, GDC, for those of you that didn't know, is Game Developers Conference. A lot of stuff is happening there.
This is
It's exciting. It's exciting times for gamers and game developers alike. Um, Valve just keeps smashing. You know, I wonder what the Steam machines, the presence of the Steam machines are there, because that was supposedly the rumor that they were going to be front and center. Um, and Steam OS basically seemed like it was kind of shelved or put to the side while they worked on Steam broadcasting, Steam in-home streaming, Steam Liquid VR, and just Steam seems to just, I don't know, man. They seem to have the 10,000-foot view and know exactly what to do when, and we're all still in the dark with what's going on with Steam OS. Right now, my Steam client works perfectly fine in the Linux distribution that I chose, which is Ubuntu 14.04, and it has a whole Steam runtime library that makes it think my system is I believe Ubuntu 12.04. That could have changed though. That was, originally how it was all set up. But I haven't had a Steam library problem in a long time. And sometimes for Arch users, they would have weird, maybe audio wouldn't work all of a sudden, or some library would prevent you from running the Steam client, and you would have to delete one of the local runtime files that were inside of the Steam folder in your home directory. But it seemed, have you had that problem lately, Atomic?
No, I haven't
No.
had that issue lately.
Yeah, see? So I think, I don't know, Steam OS is basically, for those of you that don't know, is just a Debian distribution that opens up the Steam client in big picture mode. And the last time I tried big picture mode on my computer, it just worked. It was freaking tits. It was awesome. Everything looked super solid. So, the question, does Steam OS work and does it exist? I would say in some form or fashion, yeah, it does.
I gotta say that I'm disappointed in the Steam controller because look at this. It's starting to look like an Xbox controller, to be honest with you.
I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Just
Really,
why? I want this.
because the Xbox controller is the best.
Just works.
I want
Is the best controller ever released.
I want the original, the one that has the touch screen in the middle. I want something that looks futuristic. Like, damn, man, did you go into a
And
time
Blind
machine?
Running posted the link, but it was this. So we talked about that Steam streaming box earlier for $49.99. Apparently, this controller is $49.99, and I'm guaranteeing you're getting the same controller. So that's a hell of a deal. Steam is Valve is bringing all the goodness as usual.
I'd pay $100 for the controller I'm showing on screen right now.
But according to the link, though, it still has an emulated trackball pad, the one that's the final version. So that's still good. So you're still going to get the mouse accuracy, and I think that was one of the biggest goals of this controller, because PC gaming, obviously.
That's still going
Oh
to
my
be
gosh.
that is still going to be kind of awkward because I have tried FPS in with a trackball, and it's kind of awkward.
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But I bet you it's the same as okay. So I stopped playing PC games for a few years ago. I stopped playing PC games at about 2004 or 5 for a few years. When the first Xbox came out, and when I came back to playing PC, it took me actually a while to get used to playing mouse and keyboard. So it might be one of those things that you just need to get acclimated or
Dude.
just
Right
get used
now,
to.
yeah, right now I activated big picture mode to just check out how it's coming along. And I am now inside of Outland playing with the controller while I'm live streaming with you guys. And guess what else I enabled? Broadcasting. So right now, if you have Steam open, you might be able to actually view me live streaming, because Valve is fucking awesome.
And
Valve is Valve.
And that's why he started to
And
glitch out.
that originally was only available to Windows users, but I could be wrong, but I went into the settings within Steam Big Picture mode and clicked on broadcast and clicked on the settings to stream a 1080p stream at 2000 kilobits a second. And I'm playing Outland right now while I'm live streaming.
Oh, Steam broadcasting is not currently supported on Ubuntu Addicted System.
Oh, okay. So they still don't have it working. All right. They just made it look like they do.
Okay.
But anyway, big picture mode, boss. It's working. It's freaking. It's awesome. You know, like I said, I'm doing this right now, and I'm still obviously transmitting my video signal to Atomic. He's the hub tonight and everything, and we got to wrap it up tonight.
Let me just summarize before we wrap it up.
Sure.
GDC 2015, Valve, as in relation to Linux and Steam OS, they released Steam Link, the Steam streaming box, which has HDMI and Ethernet ports. Obviously, with USB ports, it's $49.99. Steam machines will be announced Thursday, which is tomorrow night.
Nice. And okay.
Steam controllers have been shown. Source 2 engine is going to be open source.
So we'll all be able to develop our own source games.
Well, according to this link, it says not mention licensing and royalty costs. So we're going to say it's a rumor right now. I did see that somewhere.
Okay, sure.
And they did announce their VR machine, their virtual reality headset, which is also based off of open source, I believe, the open source stuff that we talked about in previous podcasts.
Isn't it called Liquid VR, or is that AMD?
That's AMD stuff.
Okay, sorry. All right. Yeah.
So
everybody seems to be coming out with their own VR headset. HTC is. I mean, as we talked about last week,
PlayStation did too.
VR seems to be the new hit, and we'll have to see if it sticks this time, because in previous years it was all marketing hype, and then it just flopped on its face. You know, nobody bit, and maybe the hardware capabilities weren't there yet, but I think the hardware capabilities are there now. If you watch a YouTube video on Liquid VR from AMD, they did a great job of kind of explaining what virtual reality should do and how the capabilities have improved from years past, and so on and so forth. I mean, the things that we didn't get to touch on in the show tonight would be Unreal Engine 4 is now supposedly free. It used to be a $19.99 monthly fee that you had to pay, a subscription fee, to utilize the source code to develop your game. I think that's been opened up for free. Osiris found a topic about Unity 5. You actually mention that, didn't you?
I don't think we mentioned that night. So Unity 5 is free, but it's a stripped down GIMP version. So it's not like the Unreal Engine where you get the complete toolkit and package free. You get the stripped down GIMP version, and it's free up to $100,000 worth of revenue. So.
Damn. And yeah, Unreal Engine 4 is free, but you do have to pay a 5% royalty on the gross revenue after your first $3,000 per product per quarter.
So different kinds of free.
Sure. Yep. So that, there was plenty. I think there's other topics that really we could have talked about, but we all have our own things that we got going on in life, and an hour and a half, we got to cut it off. So I just want to say thanks to everybody coming to the show. Make sure you go to our Player Me's and follow us everywhere if you'd like. That way you get up to date information. I'm a pretty comedic type person. I post some funny stuff on Twitter. I post some silly vines. Vine is like the equivalent to Instagram video, where it's just a 6-second clip of something. We each have our own YouTube channels that kind of delve into our own little ideas for each of our own channels. Mine, I haven't been uploading really any archived or edited video. It's all been live. Osiris does all sorts of great stuff. Make sure you go check out Osiris's YouTube channel. He's got a great review of the pre-sequel up. He's got what were some of the other recent videos you've done, Osiris?
A review of the Sony mic I recently purchased, and just random gaming stuff, how-tos on Linux,
Yep.
and like performance PCs, whether you should buy for them or not, stuff like that.
Yep. And
Just all over the
Atomic?
place, just
Yeah,
gaming.
right. And Atomic, your channel has also you do a Does It Run on Linux series.
which
So
I need
that's
to get
really
back to.
helpful. Yep, that's really helpful for the newer Linux gamers on, whether or not a Linux distribution or Linux platform is something that's viable for you as a gamer. Does your favorite game run in Linux, whether natively or in a wrapper like Wine? So, each of our YouTube channels has their own little niche, what we try to provide on the channels. I have so many ideas for videos that are all on a piece of paper in front of me and just no time to edit them. I work an 8 to 9 hour day job, Monday through Friday, and then I stream 3 days a week on my own personal live streams, and then we have the podcast on Wednesdays. So, I'm live 4 days a week. Atomic and Osiris stream when they can. I don't know. Do you guys have a dedicated stream schedule yet?
Mm,
I've wanted to make one, but I don't have one yet.
Okay.
that's a negative.
All right. So those are, so those guys, so their channels are kind of more, if you really wanted to watch their live streams, you got to just watch their Twitter. They'll usually tweet, that they're about to go live. It's part of the process of setting up a live stream generally. Um, well, it is on YouTube, but I don't know about Twitch or whatever. But so yeah, follow us on the social medias and you'll be able informed on when we go live and stuff. Um, So if you do want to connect with us and game with us, that's awesome. We would love to game with you. I do like community type events like Team Fortress Tuesdays was yesterday. Um, Sunday mornings, we usually do Sunday fun days with Osiris and Atomic. And really that's kind of, depending on the game, it's open up to viewers as well. If we do like Killing Floor, we can get up to 4 people in there. If we do Don't Starve Together, you can get up to, my server isn't quite up and running yet, but Blind Run Gaming server's up. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I brought some community members over onto his server. I think he has up to 64 players. He's got a Killing Floor server that we could probably play on. That's up to 32 players or however many. I mean, so if you want to do gaming with us, join our Steam group, Linux Tech and Gaming. And that's an easy way to connect with us on Steam anyway. Because I don't know how everybody feels about adding people to their Steam friends list. Generally it's for friends and people and trust, because you don't really know what could really occur once you accept a friend request through Steam. If somebody's a hacker and they hack and steal all of your information, who knows? But, that's going to do it for our show tonight. Again, thank you to each and every one of you that came and watched the show live. It means a lot to us, and if you weren't able to watch it live, hopefully you check out the audio archived versions that Osiris creates every week and puts up on linuxtechandgaming.com. There's an RSS feed. If you do want to subscribe to that, you can. That'll auto download it right to your mobile device so you can stay up to date with our show. I've just been completely slacking on the video archives and uploading them to Linux Tech and Gaming or linking them on Linux Tech and Gaming website, because if you wanted to watch a previous episode of the show video wise, you can just go right to the Linux Tech and Gaming YouTube channel and watch the episode right there. We're trying to make our show, not become a job where you have to spend 2-3 hours editing it and splicing it together and editing out stuff that we don't want. We don't want to do that, because the goal of the podcast is to inform everyone about information that we have to share with you about gaming and about Linux. And we don't want it to be all this extra work that prevents us from actually doing what we want to do, which is game and have fun and game together with not only us three, but with you guys, with the community. So again, thanks everybody for supporting the show, watching the show, and I look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Atomic, Osiris, you guys got anything to add?
Nope.
We had a. Go ahead.
I said no.
Oh, we had an amazing turnout tonight. So we all appreciate all the people that come through here and show the support. And thanks for coming over and watching our show.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.